Okay, Arturo, so I was looking over your question here and I'm going to go ahead and explain it to you. But before I get to that one, I wanted to go over this problem with you. So you see how it has it enclosed in a bracket here and it's showing me that I have 4/10. Remember that that's counting how many I have going completely down, because when we multiply decimals, we are going to end up crossing and my product is going to be this overlapping part right here. So your actual product of 2800 should go down here on the blank instead of up there on the question mark. And then here on this side, you see how they started it for you already, and they said that going down, this is 4/10. I have to count how many tenths do I have going across. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7/10. So I would make sure to go ahead and grab that one and place it right here. And so now I can see that I have 4/10 times 7/10, which would give me my 28 hundredths. And just so that you can see that, remember that what you're counting is going to be right here, this part that is that's double shaded. Okay, so this should equal 28 hundredths. Okay. So from that one, if I go to the next one, I can see that I have 1 and 3, and sorry, let me erase that real quick. I have 1 and 3 tenths times 5/10. And so you can see here how they break it up for us. So, and you have your 65 hundredths up here, which is what you said you end up with. So that product would go down here. And so your 1 and 3/10, you can see how they broke it up here. So you're going to have to look on here and you're going to have to see, well, where do I have 1 whole and where do I have 3/10? And then how many tenths do I have going across, multiplying on both? And remember, in the end, you should have 65 hundredths should be all of this double shaded part right here. Okay, now going to your question about the one with the question marks. So first off, I want to tell you that I corrected it. They messed up and they wrote it's 35 and 5 times 5 and 7/10. And the product I purchased, for whatever reason, when they wrote it out, they wrote 37 times 5 and 7. So I went ahead and I fixed that for you, and I just replaced the 7 with the 5 right there. And so that one you don't have to move, just go ahead and leave it. But again, your product of 199 and 5 should be what you end up with at the end. Remember, you're not putting it up there. This is very similar to this, where I'm going to be multiplying. It's like an area model, or like box method that some of the kids do in class. So I would start off by saying, what is 5 times 30? So 30 times 5 gives me 150. So I would come in here and I would type in 150. Then I would do 5 times 5, which would give me 25. So I would type that in there. Then I go on and I multiply 7/10 times 30. And so understand that when you're doing that, the 7/10 times 30, you're taking these 7/10 and now you're multiplying it times the 3. So 7/10 times 30 is going to give me, let me just do the math real quick. It should give me 21. Then I'm going to do the same thing and I'm going to multiply 7/10 times 5. And 7/10 times 5 should give me 3 and 5/10. And now that I end up with all of those, then these question marks are literally these partial products. So I have to bring those down here. 150 plus 25 plus 21 plus 3 and 5/10, and that should give me my final product of 199 and 5/10. So that's the one with the question marks. Also, in looking over, so don't forget this right here is as an example of what it should look like at the end. And so don't forget that they're wanting you to estimate first. So it says step 1, round your numbers to make an estimate. So you can see here that they rounded to the closest 10. So they said 20 because the 1 would give me, right, 21's closer to 20 than it is to 25 or to 30. And then 3 and 5/10, they went ahead and estimated it to they rounded it to the nearest ones place. And so they said 4. So 20 times 4 is 80. This is their estimate. And then they go through and they do their actual math. Remember that all these numbers are here because I need to do a partial product. So like on this one right here, that you started working on, I should see your estimate first. So 57, I would say, and 4/10, I would say, okay, well, that 157 is close to, I could say 57 is close to 60 if I want to estimate to the nearest tens place. And then 35, I would say, well, 35 is close to, I could say 30 tenths, or 3/10, sorry, 30 hundredths. Or I could say that it's close to, it's closer to 25 if I'm doing benchmark decimals. It's really however you decide to estimate. So I'm going to say 35 hundredths is close to 3/10. So I would say 0 and 3. And so if I multiply 60 times 0 and 3, that gives me 18. So I would write 18 here as my product. Now, remember, that's my estimate. That's what I do first. Then I'm going to do this part. And so on here, now, right, I would start off with 5 times 4, and I'm not putting my decimal yet. If you look over here, remember your decimal, you have to put it to the side. Do you see how it has one place equals 2 places? So move in 2 places. So this decimal should not be here. If this ends up being your final answer, decimal shouldn't go till down there. So I'm going to go ahead and put that decimal back. Okay, and I'm going to start off, and I'm going to go ahead and move your numbers back as well. And I'm going to go ahead and explain what this one should look like. Sorry, I'm putting it like, or it actually does not go because I forget they're stacked on top of each other. So this 0 goes back over here. And then I have 9, 9. And so it says bring over the correct numbers to show how to solve the problem. Use the slashes and commas to help keep track of the steps. So I'm going to go ahead and first, how many do I have off to the side? I have 1, 2, 3 decimals off to the side, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the 3 and I'm just going to put it up here to the side so I remember that I have 3 decimals, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to multiply like regular. Remember, you never bring the decimal down in multiplication. It's not addition, it's not subtraction. So 5 times 4 is 20. So I'm going to bring my 0, and I'm going to regroup my 2 that goes on top of my 7. Then I go 5 times 7, and 5 times 7 is 35. 35 plus 2 gives me 37. So I'm going to bring my 7 over here. And I'm going to put my 3 here on top. So now that I do that, I multiply. 5 times 5 gives me 25. 25 plus 3 gives me 28. I have nowhere else to regroup, so I'm just going to bring 28, and I'm going to put it right here. So I have an 8, and I have a 2. So 28. Now my slashes, remember, are for what I have used. So I just used my 5, so I'm done with that. I used the 2, and I used the 3. So I scratch what I've used. I have to put my placeholder 0. I cannot forget that. And then I go ahead and start multiplying. 3 times 4 gives me 12. So I'm going to bring my 2, and I'm going to carry my 1 on top of the 7. Now I'm going to multiply. 3 times 7 is 21, and 21 plus 1 is 22. So I'm going to bring my 2 from up here, and then I'm going to carry my other 2 onto the 5. Then I'm going to multiply. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 2 is 17. So I have nowhere else to carry anything to regroup to. So 17, I'm going to go ahead and just bring down 17. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to add both of those products. These are my partial products, don't forget. So 0 plus 0 gives me 0. So I'm going to put it here. 7 plus 2 gives me 9. So I'm going to put that there. Then I have 8 plus 2 gives me 10. So I'm going to put my 0, and I'm going to have to regroup my 1, right, on top right here of my 2. So 7 plus 2 gives me 9. 9 plus 1 gives me 10. So again, I'm going to put my 0, and I'm going to regroup that 1 right up here. And then 1 plus 1 gives me 2. So then I'm going to go ahead and put my 2 right here. And now I have 3 after the decimal, so I know I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, or 3 digits to the right of the decimal. So then I should end up with 20 and 9 hundredths, or 20 and 90 thousandths, however you want to look at that. And that should be the way you show me your final answer. So keep that in mind going into your next one, okay? It has several steps, so remember to make your estimate first and then start multiplying, and you need to see the partial products before I see a final answer. Remember, your final product answer goes down here, okay? If you have any more questions, go ahead and just shoot me another message.